All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the New Evangelicals podcast. Okay, this video that we're going to watch, I need you all to buckle up for, because I'm actually kind of angry about this clip, because it just shows what the Evangelical Church will tolerate versus what the Evangelical Church will not tolerate. Meaning, if you're at all plugged into the church, you know that right now there's a big talk about CRT being harmful and how we should criticize the social justice movement and how liberal thought has no place in churches. But then we have video clips like this of pastors saying crazy things. And these guys have major platforms that go largely unchecked. So this clip is of Pastor Greg Locke. Now, I use that term pastor super lightly. If you don't know who he is, look him up on Twitter. He has 190,000 followers on Instagram. He has about 100,000 followers on Twitter. This guy is out of control. How he claims to be a pastor and how people follow him as a pastor is so perplexing to me. So I want to show you this video. It's not a long clip. It's about a minute and a half. Let's watch the whole thing, and then we'll go through it piece by piece. All right, here we go.
Impede on our First Amendment right, we'll meet them at the door with our Second Amendment right, because this is the United States of America. We are not going to fall to Joe Biden and his fake fraudulent nonsense. And you can tell the right wing watch CNN, Fox News, and Newsweek. Greg Locke said so. Can I get a witness in this house? God bless America, land that I love. This is a free nation.
Wow.
And it's going to stay free because there's enough of us that believe we're going to stand up and fight back. This is our 1776 moment, church. I'm telling you, exposure is on its way, and it's not because there's a Q drop. It's because there's a God that sits on the throne. He's going to expose all these bunch of pedophiles, all these bunch of child-groping, sex-trafficking mongrels. He's going to expose all this Planned Parenthood wickedness. He's going to expose this election fraud. There's a reason they don't want you watching Maricopa County right now. I'm here to tell you, I have a president. His name is Donald J. Trump, and he won single-handedly the election of the United States of America, and Joe Biden is still a fraud, and you can tell him I said so.
Okay. I don't like to use profanity on channels like this, but this needs to be said. This is bullshit. This guy is peddling bullshit. That's exactly what he's doing. Let's go through this video kind of piece by piece, because there's so much bullshit here. It's crazy that the Evangelical Church lets people like this operate under the umbrella of the evangelical movement with largely no pushback. I mean, I have never seen any fundamentalist like Vadi Bachman, who has written books like Fault Lines, critiquing CRT, ever even say the name Greg Locke or critique the nonsense that comes out of this man's mouth that is so far from a basic Christian ethic. Because ultimately, that group of people does not care about these kinds of people, because deep down, they kind of agree. That's why. Deep down, they kind of agree. So let's go through this video piece by piece and see what happens. All right, here we go.
Impede on our First Amendment right, we'll meet them at the door with our Second Amendment right.
So right off the bat, friends, I mean, we have someone who is claiming to be a pastor, someone claiming to represent Jesus, who is now saying that instead of meeting theoretical resistance with peace and love and empathy and loving our enemy, we will meet them at the door with our guns. So we're already off to a great start. We can tell this man has really read the Sermon on the Mount, that his theology is more concerned about political ideology than actual biblical reality regarding Jesus.
This is the United States of America. We are not going to...
What's up with the person waving their Bible on the left? Like, do you think your Bible talks about America? Do you think your Bible speaks to America or American nationalism? It doesn't, unless you interpret it through that lens, which we all know we can make the Bible say anything we want, and this is a great example of that.
Fall to Joe Biden and his fake fraudulent nonsense, and you can tell the right wing what.
Now we're peddling, what's called the big lie, the idea that Joe Biden stole the election. Give me a break.
CNN, Fox News, and Newsweek, Greg Locke said so. Can I get a witness in this house? God.
I'm pretty convinced that this guy just likes to get crowds riled up who cheer for him, and it kind of strokes his ego. This is very much a playbook out of like some of the old school Pentecostal revivalists that would go around saying very anti-intellectualist things just to get rounds of applause cheering them on.
Bless America, land that I love. This is a free nation.
Well, for white people.
And it's going to stay free because there's enough of us that believe we're going to stand up and fight back.
That is code for keeping America Christian, meaning, okay, we think that our power and our influence is waning and that there are other worldviews that are getting traction, and therefore we're not going to tolerate this, so we're going to stand and fight back. Again, just nothing to do with like a solid, even basic biblical hermeneutic. Is that the right word? Hermeneutic. I think that's the right word. Nothing like that is happening here. This is just twisting whatever his verse is, whatever his framework is, to fit a nationalist ideology.
This is our 1776 moment, church.
He's referring to, Declaration of Independence and the wars that followed, etc.
I'm telling you, exposure is on its way, and it's not because there's a Q drop. It's because there's a God that sits on the throne. He's going to expose all these bunch of pedophiles.
So what he's doing is he's saying that QAnon, which is a big conspiracy group, it's not going to happen because of Q. It's going to happen because of God. As he then peddles QAnon conspiracy theories. All this talk, pedophiles and child sex trafficking ties directly back into QAnon conspiracies that Democrats and liberals are running these secret rings where they're essentially trafficking children through them, which is largely unfounded. We have no proof of that, and it just goes to show how deep in conspiracy theories this person is. Remember, as a pastor, he's a pastor. This is a church service. This is happening on a Sunday morning.
These bunch of child groping, sex trafficking mongrels. He's going to expose all this Planned Parenthood wickedness. He's going to expose this election fraud.
When, Greg? When will he expose the election fraud? Will it be like tomorrow, next month, and 20 years from now, and 30 years from now? They keep on pushing the goalposts back because it turns out there was no widespread election fraud, meaning there was no fraud above and beyond typical elections. So there's no impact to who was actually elected. I'm not going to rehash all this because Greg is so stuck in his ways and he has a base that he has to play to. Whatever I say, not that he'll even watch this, but even if he was watching this, whatever I say will not convince him otherwise, which is why I really have I have such little respect for people like Greg because they peddle things that are nonsensical. They make no sense. They fly in the face of logic.
The reason they don't want you watching Maricopa County right now, I'm here to tell you, I have a president. His name is Donald J. Trump, and he won single-handedly the election of the United States of America, and Joe Biden is still a fraud, and you can tell him I said so.
Friends, this is being taught and being preached on Sunday morning in evangelical churches. This is not the only person to do it. This is not a fluke. We have the numbers. Roughly half of Republicans think that Joe Biden is not a legitimate president. We have evidence that roughly 20% of Americans are also Christian nationalists, okay? This is a widespread issue. I wanted to call it out because, I'm honestly exhausted and tired of fundamentalists and reformed and conservative evangelicals trying to shine a spotlight on how racial justice is a fool's errand and how CRT is unbiblical and how progressive views are just heretical. Meanwhile, they have this bullshit festering in their pews. It's festering. It is growing. It is breeding. It is expanding. This stuff has exploded over the past 4 years, and it shows no signs of slowing down. This is the problem here, okay? I don't want to hear one more stinking thing about a critique of CRT or any kind of social justice anything, because until conservative evangelicals get this kind of nonsense out of their church, I see their arguments as completely disingenuous, because they don't really care about what's not, the gospel in their view, or what's not biblical, because they have these kinds of people peddling this nonsense all the time. All right, that's enough for this video. I just want to come on here quickly and share this. Make sure to follow us on social media, and I'll talk to you guys next time.